Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Cabral. I'm the DPW Superintendent here in Seekonk, located at 871 Taunton Avenue.
How you doing? I'm Scott Alobri, the Assistant Superintendent of the DPW.
So back on March 17th, we had a feasibility study that was presented by the Town Administrator, Sean Kadim, to the Board of Selectmen. That report had been worked out for about a year with the Brewster Thornton Group to come up with some conceptual concepts for a brand new DPW facility. So we'd like to walk you through the building, show you our administrative office space, the break room area for the guys, the 3-bay garage that we currently have where we store some vehicles, the mechanics bay, and then the rest of the grounds with the rest of the infrastructure here. All right, so this is our admin offices here, where the public comes in to buy stickers and do business with the working staff here, with the secretarial staff here in the front, as well as our recycle coordinator. So basically they come up to the window here, and we have our secretary's workstation interior here. So this space houses 3 employees, 2 full-time secretaries, our recycle coordinator that sits here behind where the doorway is, very tight space. And this little closet area that you can see here kind of in the corner actually opens up to the bathroom directly, which contains sink, small cube refrigerator, and the bathroom.
So just to give everybody a quick history on this building and the facility, I believe it was built in 1950, which was designed to be a car dealership. From there, it transitioned over to our police station, and the layout is probably the same that it was as a police station, which, you know, figuratively and configuratively, it really is the same exact layout. We've just tried to modernize it a little bit for our means, but you can see as you go through this tour, you're going to see how outdated everything is.
So along the hallway here, from the front office to Scott's office and my office, you'll notice in the hallway there's a lot of supplies here. This is the COVID-19 supplies that we've been dealing with for the past year. This is where we keep the supplies for the entire town, and we distribute it from here to the various offices. We can take a quick peek into Scott's area in here. You'll see it's tight quarters, a lot of stuff crammed into these small spaces. Last office here is my office. You can take a quick scan of that too, and you'll see how cramped we are in here. There are some overflow of the COVID supplies in here. This is our break room / locker room. You'll notice there's not a lot of space in here. We are at 17 DPW personnel that utilize the space. Of the 22 employees we have, there's 17 DPW crew that do everything that we do, from cutting the grass to our mechanics. You'll see within the break room space here, there's not a lot of room. The lockers on the wall, we don't even have 17 lockers for the guys. This opens up into the bathroom through the break room, through these doors. There's 1 stall, and again, just insufficient for 17 guys to be using this space, but that's what we've been doing. We make it work. So we're gonna transition now from the break room area, the admin offices, into the garage space, where we have room here for 3 vehicles. While the space may look like it was pretty wide open, we did want to give you the full sense of it having a smaller vehicle with a plow on it parked in the first space, along with a bigger sander with the plow on it in the second space. Normally you could walk directly through where these trucks are to the mechanic's garage door, but we wanted you to get a sense of how tight the space is in here of this area.
One of the biggest needs we're going to have that we're proposing for our new facility is the ability to house all of our equipment, especially our large equipment. As you're going to see through the rest of this tour, not only can we not fit a fraction of the fleet inside the garage, but you're going to see that most of it sits out in the weather all year long. So we wanted to stress that that's one of the most important factors that went into the design process proposal for the new building. As we move this way, we'll give you a sense on what it takes for us to fit some of our winter fleet, which is the bulk of our larger fleet, a sander with the plow. And you can see the spacing in the garage, like I said, was the former police station, would have been fine for cruisers, but wasn't designed for a DPW fleet. So from front to end, the larger piece of equipment, like I said, a 6-wheel sander with a plow, barely fits in the garage. And when you have 2 or 3 of them, that's really all we can fit. Currently, we already have 5, and we're gonna be up to 7. So as equipment gets larger and more advanced, it becomes more costly, and that's the need to keep it under a roof. And we try to do it the best we can in this facility, but we've outgrown that probably 15, 20 years ago.
And, you know, again, we've made do with the building. If you notice that the plow is right at the front of the garage door bay, to the back end here, which barely allows us enough room to kind of meander around to get to the mechanics area without having to go outside, especially during the winter. We have a bay here that has nothing in it, and we wanted to show you this space. This is the tool rack that we put together here. Obviously, when there's a vehicle in the space in this first bay, we can't access the tools, but we've tried to utilize every square foot of our existing building so we have some functionality. All these tools on the wall, we basically pull the first truck out. It's easy enough to do that in the morning. The guys will gather up the tools they need if they're going out on the ball fields, if they're going out cutting grass, whatever the case may be. So we get the truck out of the way, they grab what they need, and we move on from here. And we've just, good example of us trying to utilize the square footage of our space we have in here.
Now we'd like to show you basically our all-purpose wash bay, for lack of a better term. This is our pressure washer, and if you can imagine trying to wash a sander in the middle of the winter with a machine like that, it's very difficult, to say the least. So again, part of our building design is to actually have an enclosed truck wash bay with catwalks that would allow us to, with pressure washer systems, to go up on a catwalk and wash down on the sanders. So currently, if you can picture this, we have to wait till like a 33-degree day to try to get the corrosive salt off of our sanders. That's one of the biggest issues that we have. Very difficult, very challenging. We do the best we can with it to preserve the life of the truck, but we wanted to give you a sense on how that actually happens currently, which is completely outdated, as you can see.
And these vehicles are washed outdoors. So we open up the garage door to access the pressure wash and to soap them down. It does not do an adequate job. Even though we're rinsing off the salt in between storms, we have to outsource and have the sanders brought to a car wash facility that can handle these commercial vehicles. It's so important to get that salt off, not only the exterior of that truck, but the chassis and the underbody of that truck. The corrosiveness of that salt is going to diminish the lifespan of these vehicles, so it's very, very important. The new facility has a state-of-the-art truck wash designed to handle these types of trucks that we have in all of our equipment.
And year-round, so no matter what the temp is. So currently, like I said earlier, we have to wait till the temp rises above freezing to even do this. That could be a week in between washing of the vehicles, which is where the corrosiveness really starts to build up on the bodies.
Through this door is the mechanics bay.
Okay, again, we're now in our mechanics bay, and as you can see, with 3 to 4 pieces of equipment, we're at max capacity. We handle, between DPW and police, we handle approximately 150 pieces of equipment that need to be maintained at any given time. So you can see if there's 1 or 2 on a lift, well, the one lift that we have, that's all we can work on at one time. The new garage is going to be proposed with a minimum of 4 to possibly 6 lifts, which would accommodate the ever-growing fleet, not only with Public Works, but also with police.
So, and with that said, you're in here on a day where we have one of our heavy pieces of equipment in here for our roadside cutting. They're working on that. We have one vehicle up on our only lift, which is all we have in this bay area. So the space is very tight in here on a given day. And this is a good example of what the garage looks like behind the doors on any given day.
So one of the other things we wanted to point out was give you a microcosm of the urgency to replace this building. As you can see above this window in the cinder blocks, there's actually a stress crack that is growing gradually every year. So this is, like I said, this is just a microcosm of the building's deterioration. Literally, the window frame is holding up that cinder block, which is then holding up this portion of the roof. So one of the things, like, we could do this all day, was one of the major things that we wanted to point out as to the urgency of this project.
And this particular item is one that we've been monitoring. We continue to monitor it. At some point, a repair is going to be necessary. We're trying not to expend, money here if we don't have to, but at the same time, this is one of the items that we're going to have to take action on pretty soon as it continues to deteriorate more.
And with any kind of rainstorm, we'll actually have flooding in here on a regular basis because it actually pours right through the foundation. So just wanted to point that out. We could spend hours on the condition of the building, but that's one of the more urgent ones.
So as part of the improvements here for the new DPW, we would also be changing out our infrastructure, which includes our diesel tank in the background here, which is the white tank above ground, as well as the gasoline tank in front of that kind of mid-range here. Both tanks above ground, that services all of the DPW equipment, police vehicles, and fire apparatus. That would all need to be changed out, brand new, and we'll continue around to our outdoor garage area where the rest of the fleet is housed.
Okay, so now we're in our back lot, we call it, which is where we house most of the equipment. Again, like I said earlier, this was one of the most pressing needs that we saw as a facility, the ability to house all of the equipment under a roof. And kind of potentially the new building will be almost the size of this lot. That's how vast the building is going to be. So we'll be able to house all the equipment under a roof, keep it out of the weather. As you can see, it's everything from our small dump trucks to our sanders, because they don't fit all in the garage like we showed you earlier. Well, as we work up the lot, we'll show you that we have to keep all of the plows out in the weather year round, which deteriorates on the fittings. So every season we're constantly replacing fittings that could all be avoided when they're kept under a roof. All types of equipment are kept out here, our trailers, our roller, our chippers for the trees, dump bodies. Like I said earlier, the plows, you get a better picture of it now that we're closer. I mean, that's probably, you're looking at almost $200,000 worth of plows sitting out in the weather year round. And a lot of them are new. We try to keep up on the best we can, but it's just senseless maintenance because of the weather. As you pan over here, you'll see some more of our smaller machines, our fittings. Again, that's probably another $250,000, maybe $300,000 worth of equipment that sit out in the weather. Some of the items that are kept outside, this is a brand new chipper at about $70,000. These pieces of equipment are about $150,000 a piece. So we have no storage for it. And all of the attachments that go along with the machinery are kept outside. And again, some of this stuff, like a snowblower, will sit for a good portion of the year. By the time the season comes for us to work on it, these hoses start rotting out in the sun and the weather. So it's a constant maintenance, and it's really senseless. And it's all because it's not kept indoors. That's the main reason behind it. So again, to drive home the point about the equipment sitting out year round, this particular piece of equipment is probably in the range of $300,000, and it's fairly new. That is a brand new backhoe, which the town has been very supportive of, and the Board of Selectmen has been very supportive of getting us our equipment, but we need to keep it inside. Like I said, this backhoe is probably a year old. Within a couple of years, we'll have to deal with the hose issues from the sun and the cold, as well as some of the paint issues on the machine, which is really senseless because we can't keep it indoors. So again, just wanted to reiterate how much equipment is actually sitting out in the weather year round. And one of our big proponents for the design is a building to house all of it.
And just behind me here, this building that's cone-shaped at the top, that's our existing salt shed. It's over 30 years old. It holds about 1,000 tons of salt. The new facility is gonna have a salt shed, a new modern salt shed that's gonna be able to house double that amount, at least 2,000 tons of salt, which is gonna be better for the department too. That's good for a couple of substantial storms and icing conditions we typically get, but it would be nice to have the capacity to fill it and not have to worry about running out of salt any time during the winter time of our normal snow and ice operations. So we're inside the salt shed here, and from the front door, we're 60 feet from here to the back wall. That's the size of this. So that's the diameter of this salt shed. The pile that you have behind us here is left over from this winter. We probably have about 250 ton in there. And again, the building would hold about 1,000 ton stored just like this is. We push this up at the loader to get the height we have around the whole back side of this. So that gives you a good sense of the size of what the existing salt shed is. And if you can envision doubling this space, that's what the new facility is proposing to have, is a storage capability of 2,000 tons. When the trailers come in here, they have to back up right close to the back wall so that when they lift that trailer bed up to empty out the salt in here, the top of that trailer is just missing the roof of this building. So it was designed for a trailer to back in, dump the load with that trailer extended all the way up, and then they pull out of here and the loader has to come in and move the piles around to the side so that we can get more salt in here. The new facility is gonna have like a drive-through. You drive through one end to the other end, they'll be able to back in, the top is gonna be uniform, so they won't have the same restrictions on them like we do here. Well, we want to thank you for your time here today at the DPW facility. We hope we gave you a good perspective on what our building looks like and the infrastructure here, as well as the accommodations for all of our staff.
So we'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen for suggesting this as a great option for the general public to see what we're working with for a facility and the reason for the new facility. And we'd like to thank Channel 9 for coming out and taking the time with us today.